Martin Luther, the German reformer, noted, "If any man doth ascribe aught of salvation, even the very least to the free will of man, he knoweth nothing of grace, and he hath not learnt Jesus Christ aright." Charles Haddon Spurgeon, the great Baptist preacher, later echoed Luther's statement when he said, "He who in his soul believes that man does, of his own free will, turn to God, cannot have been taught of God." As one who used to believe that my salvation was a result of me exercising my free will, these statements greatly disturbed me, especially in light of the fact that I highly regarded both of these men as great teachers given by God to His church. Hello, I'm Jerry Johnson, and I welcome you to this edition of Against the World.
This segment of Against the World is brought to you by our good friends at Sovereign Grace Singles. Meet like-minded Christians by visiting them on the web at sovereigngracesingles.com, and by the Morris family of Hampton, Georgia, Brett, Kimberly, Kelly, Karisa, and Kaleb.
Spurgeon noted, "You have heard a great many Arminian sermons, I dare say, but you have never heard an Arminian prayer. For the saints in prayer appear as one in word and deed and mind. An Arminian on his knees would pray desperately like a Calvinist. He cannot pray about free will. There is no room for it." Spurgeon went on to explain that if an Arminian were consistent with their theology and they prayed as their theology dictated, their prayers would sound something like this: "Lord, I thank Thee that I am not like those poor presumptuous Calvinists. Lord, I was born with a glorious free will. I was born with the power by which I can turn to Thee of myself. I have improved my grace. If everyone had done the same with their grace that I have, they might all have been saved. Lord, I know Thou dost not make us willing if we are not willing ourselves. Thou givest grace to everyone. Some do not improve it, but I do. There are many that will go to hell as much bought with the blood of Christ as I was. They had as much of the Holy Ghost given to them. They had as much good a chance and were as much blessed as I am. It was not Thy grace that made us to differ. I know it did a great deal. Still, I turned the point. I made use of what was given to me, and others did not. That is the difference between me and them." I hope you can see that if the Arminian was consistent in his theology and his prayers, then it would give the Arminian grounds by which he can boast. Something the Apostle Paul explained in Ephesians 2:8 and 9 was impossible. "For by grace have you been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." The Arminian must ultimately believe that he did something good for a reason outside of the grace of God. Why? Because according to their theology, we have all been given the same amount of grace and hence the same chance to accept the gospel. In the final analysis, the Arminian must believe he was either more righteous, more holy, or just plain smarter than all of those who do not believe. If faith comes by you, as Paul explains, it would be a work of the sinner and would therefore be a reward for doing good by accepting Christ. And this, my friends, is not the gospel. It is a gospel of works and boasting. Until next week, this is Jerry Johnson standing contra mundum against the world.